Chelsea, what do you think is the most requested art book review of all time that people ask us to do?
Land Before Time 21?
Close, but Art of Tangled.
My name is Chelsea Robson.
And I'm Morgan Stradling.
Today we are going to be reviewing the very best art book I have ever seen in my life.
It's that good. The Art of Tangled. First off, everyone loves Tangled. This is a modern day Little Mermaid. You know, people are obsessed with Rapunzel and Tangled and Flynn Rider. You know, now that Frozen's coming, you know, there's maybe going to be a little war here.
You know.
But people love Tangled.
Yes.
And this art book, you know, I was excited to read. And as I was reading it, within the first few pages, I realized this is the best book that I've ever read.
The moment you open it, you're just like, oh wow, more. I want more. And you just can't get out of it. It's so good.
If I were to describe this book in 2 words, it would be Glen Keane. Glen Keane is the famous, legendary Disney animator who has worked on all sorts of famous characters like Aladdin, Beast, Ariel, Tarzan, and now Rapunzel. And so he really had his hands on this character and some of the other characters. And you can see that because in this art book, it's like 80% Glen Keane.
It's
great.
So great. Awesome. Either that or someone in the Keane family.
Yeah, there's Lisa Keane, his wife, and Claire Keane, his daughter. They were all working on this film, and so like every page, like it's just, there's Keane somewhere, somewhere on the page.
They were very keen to work on this.
So this art book, the chapters are very different from what you would expect. The first chapter sort of talks about the history of the Rapunzel fairy tale, kind of getting you up to speed with that. And then they go in, there's another chapter about the history of Tangled and, you know, the different iterations of this Rapunzel story that they tried to make. And then it sort of gets into the story. So this is a very character-centric book. It's all about the characters. There's a little bit about, you know, the landscapes and other stuff, but like there are pages after pages of the characters and sketches and key poses and frames. You know, after they discover what Rapunzel looks like, then it's just page after page after page of like her facial expressions and how long her hair should be. And it's really, really, really cool.
So awesome. And then it also goes in more and more on creating a fairy tale in general. And so Glen Keane, having been working at Disney for many, many years, definitely has had his fair share of fairy tales to work on. And so he's got so much, a wealth of knowledge on how you create a fairy tale. Like, this is the Disney quintessential, this is what you get. And it's so, so good.
So one page that I really liked is when they took us back in history to understand maybe the terminology of some different art styles and whatnot. You know, a lot of times in these books, they just focus on the movie and the concept art, and they assume that you know the jargon and whatnot. But this one, it gives us a little Art 101's history lesson, which is really cool. So for example, they talk about Cinderella, and how in Cinderella that these curves were really important. They call it a harmony of curves. And this is very important for a Disney fairy tale to have this look. So likewise, when they were making Tangled, they wanted to replicate this look and make sure that they had this classic Disney feel in their movie. And so they break down the scenes in Cinderella, and they also talk about this is how we achieved it in Tangled, which I thought was really interesting because this is something you don't normally see. They sort of like skip over this. It's important to the movie, but we just didn't have time to put it in the book, or we didn't even think about putting it in the book. But they did, and I came out, you know, more informed and more educated as a result.
Right. Also, one of my favorite pages is when Glen Keane actually goes in and he draws out Rapunzel. The facial expressions and everything are very different, but not just that, he's got handwritten notes. What happened was he ended up making all of these notes and sending them out to all of the animators who are working on this film, so everybody would be on the same page. And it was just, it's so cool to see, because now we're all on the same page too.
Yeah, so these are things that you know exist in the world of animation, but they usually don't make it to the art books. It's just usually, I mean, they either erase that out or they choose a different frame or different, you know, concept art to use. But
or it's just not saved.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, they kept these, and I thought it was just a perfect touch because you just got to, you know, explore and understand the character even more and, like, their nuances and just little teeny, like, quirks that they had. It was all in there, which was great. You know, we talk about Glen Keane and how he's so instrumental in this book, but there are so many other fantastic artists. You know, like on this page alone, you know, there's Glen Keane, Lisa Keane, Claire Keane, Jin Kim, Lorelei Beauvais in different pages, and so Bill Schwab, who ended up being on lots of movies, including Frozen recently. they're just all in here. And it's really cool because as you read these books from movie to movie, you start recognizing more and more names, and you start resonating with certain people's styles and recognizing them. Like, oh, I know that's Jin Kim. That's Jin Kim. It's really cool. So that's what I love about these books. I just start getting to understand each individual artist who works at the studio, and I feel like a part of the studio in that way.
We're all friends.
Another page that I thought was really cool is when they show us the map of the kingdom. And this just helps give it a little bit more perspective. It's a bird's eye view of the world of Tangled and where the key scenes happen. So here's the tower, here's the pub, here's the river they go down, here's where they exit the river, and here's the kingdom. To me, this just helped make it that much more real, and I could understand like where exactly each scene fit in the movie and in this world. I thought it was really cool that they included this.
I love that part too, because I mean, I was thinking about it, and you know how in like the Harry Potter books or whatever, when they'll add like, oh, this is what Hogwarts looks like, and then here's Hagrid's hut and all these things. I'm like, oh, I get to know exactly where all these things are. And it really does make it more of a real story, because otherwise you may just think that you are going from scene to scene to scene, but really, no, you are going on a journey, and this is a huge journey for her too. So you know how in a lot of these different movies, if it's set in a particular place, a lot of times the crew will actually go there. For example, people who did Brave, they got to go to Scotland and they took pictures of Scotland and the moss and the rocks and all that fun stuff. And then, you know, people who were on Frozen went to the Scandinavian countries and the snow and ice, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So for Tangled, Disney pulled out all the stops and sent them to no other place but Disneyland!
I know, can you imagine? It's like, all right guys, get in the van, we're driving 10 miles down the road, we're going to Disneyland.
What?
Like, oh man, I wanted to go to Switzerland.
But it was really good because Disney, that is characteristically Disney, and that's one more way that they went above and beyond to reinforce this is a Disney film.
I am blown away by this book. It was really one of the best art books that I had read in a long, long time. And it's definitely my #1 must-buy art book of all time.
If this is the only art book you ever buy, you'll be fine. This is such a good book and really comprehensive on Disney as well as just art in general. So that was just really cool. Definitely a five-star, buy it. Really, click this link right now and just buy it.
Why haven't you bought it? Really, why?
Why hadn't we bought it?
Well, that's for another day.
That's for another day. But we're here now, and we're telling you, don't make the same mistake that we've made over the last 2 years. Buy this book now.
Alright guys, let us know in the comments below what your favorite page of the Art of Tangled is, or what page you're most looking forward to exploring when you do buy it. Again, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more fabulous art book reviews. We're going to be doing as many as we possibly can, so we have a lot up our sleeves. So until next time, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Chelsea.
And you're watching
the Rotoscopers YouTube.